It's amazing to me how big of an effect that lust can have on a man's life, even a person's life, man or woman. How much of a hold, a control that it has on your psyche, on your confidence, on your focus, on your success, your career, even just your relationships, how much of a distraction it can be as well as a hindrance to your potential as a man. There's so many different ways to look at lust and how it can affect you. There's men who don't really get girls, who aren't really that good at attracting women and talking to women. I know it's 2025 and guys are still struggling with this problem, but whatever. It is what it is. It's not the most important thing being able to attract a lot of women, but I think it's a stage that men need to go through, is learning how to attract women, learning how to flirt, learn how to be confident with them, learn how to treat them as if they're just human beings, because that's all they are. They just have different genitals, right? Obviously, they have different physical features, but they're still human, just like men are. I think the craziest part about lust is that men will literally choose a woman based off of their fantasies of what they may have with her. They will literally talk to her, take her on dates, buy her stuff, treat her right, meet her family, become her whole boyfriend, waste months of their lives just so they can have sex with her. And then once they have sex with her, they just stop caring about her because you went into the relationship with the intention to just have sex. And I was there. And guess what? It was so unfulfilling. The moment I did have sex with the girl, because I was still in this little boy mindset of, I want to have sex with as many girls. I want to be cool. You know, these guys in high school said that I couldn't get bitches. So now I want to get a bunch of girls and just to prove them wrong. And I got my heart broken. So I'm going to prove to that girl that I'm valuable by having as much sex as I can. And it ended up leaving me so empty. It ended up leaving me so unfulfilled. The thing that I thought would have brought me the most happiness, which was the quick nut, it ended up bringing me sadness, and it made me hate myself. Gave me these negative thoughts. Now that's what an actual human, but a lot of guys, when it comes to lust, their addiction is porn. Their addiction is, and I hate, this is one of the negatives of social media, but TikTok, Instagram, where you have these girls, models, who show off their body and basically have guys relapse on their no-fap streak, or they got guys playing with themselves while watching their TikTok videos do their TikTok dances, because at the end of their TikTok dance, they got to shake ass, you know, because it builds up retention, it builds up views, it builds up likes. They don't even realize how much they're affecting a man's mental health by doing that, even though the man feels good while watching it, or even if it's just regular porn. I've never been addicted to porn. I've never been that kind of guy. Like I used to watch it back in middle school, you know what I'm saying, when I was first getting into like, okay, what is sex? But for the most part, I never really like was super serious about like, oh, let me jerk off or stuff. There's times where I did it. There was even times where I did it in school. But once I got to high school, that I never really got into that. But for me, lust is definitely my biggest distraction. It definitely is the biggest hindrance and distraction for me. It's not the fact that I really, really want the sex, which is what I used to have when I was in high school, which is I really want to have those experiences. I crave them. So like most men, I started going to the gym. I started working on my confidence. I started working on my looks, started going to get haircuts, right? Started to work on being more smooth, you know, working on my personality, just so I could get that 15 seconds of pleasure. But back to what I was saying, it wasn't like that. It was more of the fact that I knew I could get it because I got myself to fuckboy status, like hoish status. Like I got myself to the point where I was getting really good at attracting women and being able to have these experiences with them, that it became addicting because I knew I could get it whenever I wanted. And so my mind would end up wanting it over and over and over. And you may be dealing with the same problem, or you may be dealing with the problem that I had when I was in high school, where I go to TikTok and Instagram to get that pleasure rather than talking to an actual human being girl, right? Or working on that confidence. I mean, there's men And I've been here before, so I can't really judge. But, for the sake of the video, I have to, point you out so you can take accountability, because I had to point myself out so I could take accountability. There's guys who waste so much time that they could be spending working on a business, going to the gym, working on themselves. They spend it on instant gratification, which is the casual sex scene. That's just another fix. It's like drugs. It's like the more you take a drug, the longer period of time that you take a drug, the more that you're going to need more of that drug. I hope I said that right, because that sounded like it didn't make sense in my head. But the more you're going to need to take that drug in order to get the same feeling you got when you first took it. Well, I cannot speak. You need more of that drug. So let's say you're addicted to weed, right? So the first time you take weed, it's an amazing experience. You get this great high, and then after a while, you're going to need more of the drug in order to get the same effect. It's the same thing with casual sex. But with the actual human girl, you can't get more of that without cheating, without going and messing with other girls and getting more experiences, right? And fulfilling those nasty, dirty fantasies in your head. So you can't really do it with one girl. So that's why it's so damaging. It's like you're detoxing while still doing the drug. And it feels so horrible. It doesn't feel good. And there's so many guys who wish that they could be in the position that I'm in, where it's easy. Even younger guys, they look at me and they look up to me and my ability to attract women, and they're like, wow, I really want to get there. It's not as great as you think it is. But I understand that most guys need to go through this stage of their life in order to realize this for themselves, realize how draining casual sex can be, how draining it is to your overall energy, your spirit, your soul, how draining it is to your business, how draining it is to your success, your studies. It's almost like it takes over your whole life. But once again, it's like a guy dying of thirst watching another man drown. It's like I'm a guy drowning, telling the man that's dying of thirst, don't drink the water. Don't drink the water, right? Like, you got to go through it first. And some guys may not have this problem, but a lot of guys do. A lot of guys have the problem that I had when I was in high school, which is they have a lack of romance in their life. They have a lack of intimacy in their life, and they have this addiction to women, not necessarily sex, but they may have deep crushes. They may be very anxious. They may be very obsessed with a certain girl. They may have a lack of options. There's relationships where they've ended poorly because I'm starting to take the signs, because a lot of times when I get into these situations with these girls, like, oh, I want to be your sneaking, like, I want to be your friends with benefits, it always ends badly. It always ends with this big argument, this big falling out, and I end up not talking to the girl. But because that addiction is there, I end up hitting the girl back to try and get her back. But in reality, I'm not hitting her back to get her back. I'm just hitting her back for that reason. But I try and cope and say, oh, I really want a relationship. Oh, I really want to take this girl serious. Meanwhile, I'm just wasting both of our time. And I thought that getting more sex would make me feel better. Getting more sex would cure my depression, but it didn't. It ended up making it worse. Why? Because I'm trying to fix an internal problem with an external thing. Same thing with drugs, same thing with video games, same thing with social media, same thing with casual sex. If you use a girl, or if you're a girl, but you're probably not watching this video if you're a girl, but if you are, whatever, welcome. All love. All people are welcome. But if you're dating someone with the sole purpose of curing your depression and having these sexual experiences just so you can cure the inner emptiness that you feel inside, because maybe you don't understand that you are just a soul. You are just consciousness. You are not your mind. You are not these desires. The desires come from the mind. The attachment comes from the mind. All these desires of things, wanting things to be different, it all comes from the mind. You are just consciousness. You are presence. And remembering that is how you get through lust. You probably aren't even aware that you're breathing right now. So how can you get through lust if you're not even aware that you're breathing? No wonder you're so unconscious. No wonder you go on social media and you start scrolling for hours. You unconsciously texting girls all day just to get that one pleasurable experience, just so you can nut for 10 seconds. This is such a crazy topic because usually you're not supposed to talk about stuff like this. And there's some people who are a lot more unfiltered about it. I'm still kind of a little filtered, but I'm still like diving deep into the concept. Because you need to understand that if you do go down this hole, you're going to be left with a lot of emptiness. And it may not be until after you leave high school. It may not be until you leave college. It may not be until you're 30 where you realize that, dang, in my relationships, I prioritize sex. I don't prioritize the relationship in a way where it helps me become better spiritually. It doesn't help me become better or closer to God. It doesn't help me to become a better man. I'm just using it as a fix because it's convenient. Lust will destroy your life from the inside out. It'll distract you. It'll take over your mind. Even if you have access to it, that's all you'll be thinking about. You'll be studying, thinking about it. Playing video games, thinking about it. Personally, I don't like video games, but you do what you want. I can't take the controller away from you. I can't take the controller away from you. Making a business, thinking about it. In school, in class, especially in class. When you're in a position of very low stimulation, when you're in like a classroom setting, when you're in a setting that's super boring, like a lecture, that's when those thoughts come in the most. That's when you go, you're on college and you're in a class and you skip class just to go and have that experience with that girl. Because she's the only girl that'll do it with you. And you could have learned something that was pretty important in school to help you, get a better grade so you could study more, so you could, do better in school, right? You could have learned something. You could have gotten better at at working the discipline muscle. Because showing up day in and day out in class is hard. It's hard. Especially in college, because unlike high school where, you get an assignment on one day and it's due the very next day. In college, you get an assignment and it's due like the following week. Success comes to those who learn how to control their lust. If you learn how to control your lust, you literally will be better than 90% of guys. 90% of people. Because we live in a generation, we live in a world where the music we listen to is all degenerate music. It's all advertising this sex culture. It's all advertising this degenerate culture of taking as many drugs as possible and fucking as many girls as possible. And even these rappers, some of these rappers, these artists are starting to realize like the detriment of that. They're starting to get into these depressions because they realize like, dang, I got all the money, I got all the success, the clout, the girls, and I feel worse. There's millionaires that got the money and now they feel worse. Because from the masculine point of view, yes, conquest and mission is what drives us. And when we lose that, we lose our purpose as a man. But from a spiritual sense, there's nothing externally from you that'll make you happy. Because happiness is a fleeting emotion. There's nothing external from you that'll bring you peace, that'll bring you joy, blissfulness, long term. It's just short term pleasure. Because if you get a nice car, yeah, you're going to be happy about it for like a week. And then you're going to go right back to just, okay, well, it takes a lot of gas. You're going to start having problems because of how fast the car is. You get a new girl and the girl may have all these red flags. She may be argumentative. She may be super emotional. She may be a crybaby. She may be chaotic. She may cause you stress. She may be super toxic, have guy friends, be still cool with her ex, but you take her in because of how she looks, because of what she can do for your little dingling. Control your lust, man. Control your lust and your life will change. You will become the most successful you've ever been, whether in school, whether in sports, whether in business. You will become the most successful if you not get rid of, but learn how to control them. And you don't control it by trying to suppress it because it's only going to come back even more intense. You do it by remembering that you are just the consciousness watching the urges. And then you realize that you're breathing. Realize that you are here now. I'm sitting in this room recording a video. There's no thoughts in my head. But even still, I sometimes forget that I'm breathing. So I just remember that I'm breathing. If you like this type of content, subscribe, comment, like the video, get the YouTube algorithm rolling, man. And with all that being said, we growing, we moving, and we locked in. Think with this head, not with this one. Love you. Mwah.